Okay, so today we'll be dealing with how much in each group. So we'll get a lot more practice today doing the dividing fraction part. So we're going to do lesson 8 and 9. So we'll look at division problems that help us find the size of one group. So right now you're just listening for the summary. So sometimes we know the amount of multiple groups, but we don't know how much is in one group. We can use division to find it. So they give you an example. If 5 people share 8.5 pounds of cherries equally, how many pounds of cherries does each person get? So they show a little tape diagram here. That's one way. This is the way that we'll be doing it. So we can represent this situation as multiplication and division. So 5 times a number is 8.5, I'm sorry. So then to find that missing number, you divide them, right? So 8.5 divided by 5. So 8.5, remember that when you have 8.5, you multiply these two, and then you add it. So 8 times 2 would be 16 plus 1 is 17. So this is actually equivalent. So 8.5 is the same as 17 over 2. So we would divide that by 5. So remember that 17 over 2, and if I have divided by 5, you cannot divide a fraction by a whole number. So what you would need to do is put a little 1 underneath it. And then you would do the keep, change, flip. So notice right here, they did 17 over 2 times 1/5, and they would get 17 over 10. And remember that if you wanted to do 10 into 17, if you wanted to make it the mixed number that they got there, you do 10 into 17 goes once, that's 10, and you get 7. So your answer would be 1 7/10. So that's how they got that. And we'll get practice with that the whole lesson. Inventing a scenario. So page 46 in your book. So they have something else for you in here where you would make up a question and this and that. I just want to get practice solving this. Okay, so if I have 12 divided by 2/3, remember that you need to put a 1 under this. Okay, so this now becomes 12 over 1. Well, remember I taught you that you can never divide a fraction, you need to multiply them. Well, to multiply, you need to multiply by the reciprocal. So we would do 3 over 2. So remember the keep, and then we changed, and then we flipped, right? You flip the second, and then you just multiply straight across. So 12 times 3, you know that's 36. And then 1 times 2 is 2. Well, 36 over 2 would just be 2 into 36, right? So that's 18. So under number 1, you should have, or maybe next to it, or however it works for your book, you should have what I have in red. Okay, so now we move on. It says, how much is one batch? So now you're on page 46. And it says, to make 5 batches of cookies, 10 cups of flour is needed. How many cups of flour does each batch require? So there's your multiplication sentence or equation. 5 times something makes 10. And then it says 10 divided by 5 makes something, right? And then they show you this little diagram. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making our own multiplication problems. I'm not going to have you draw the diagram. So we will not be drawing a diagram on that one. So it says to make 4 batches, so I'm on number 1 of cupcakes, it takes 6 cups of flour. How many cups of flour are needed? So your division problem is what you see right there. So please write that. 6 divided by 4. If you were to do that in a calculator, you'd get 1.5 or 1.5. And then your multiplication problem, now that you know the part, right, you would put it here, times 4 makes 6. So you'll write what you see in the green boxes. All right, now I move on to number 2. To make half a batch of rolls, it takes 5/4 cups of flour. How many cups of flour are needed for one batch? So I kind of set you up, 5 over 4 divided by half. Okay, so that's 5 over 4 times, remember, we changed the sign, and then we flip the second. So that would be 2 over 1. So you get 10 over 4. Okay, now if you were to divide those, you would get 2.5. Okay, well, with that said, that's our division problem right here. And you should write everything you see in red. Now, our multiplication equation is the piece, the 2.5 or the 2.5 times the half, and that comes from right here, equals the 5/4, which is right there. So you'll write the the division problem at the top, and you'll write the multiplication problem right under that. All right, so one container and one section of highway. So you start out on 47, but you're writing on page 48. So I kind of put both there for you. So you have this diagram, right? And it has 15 cups and all these things going on. So number one, Tyler poured 15 cups of water into 2 equal sized bottles and filled each bottle. How much water is in each bottle? So you're going to look at the diagram, diagram 1, diagram 2, and diagram 3. And basically what I would do is right here, I wrote in my notes 15 divided by 2. That's kind of what I wrote down because I'm already just solving it when it begins. So I know that that's 7.5. Now, when I have 15 and I have it separated in 2, that tells me that diagram 2 is the answer. And the answer, I already told you, was 7.5. 7 point, oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. Press the button. That's 7.5. Okay, and then your multiplication equation is 2 times the 7.5, or 7.5, is the 15. And your division equation is going to be the answer divided by 2. And that's going to give you the 7.5. So on number 1, you should have all 4 of those things filled in. And then I jump to number 4. So now you go to page 49. And I have this, this set of diagrams. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. So Priya's class has adopted 2 equal sections of a highway to keep clean. The combined length is 3/4 of a mile. How long is each section? So for me, I automatically just start working this out. So I do 3/4 divided by the 2. And that would be 2/1. Okay, and then I change flip. So 3/4 times a half. Sorry, guys, I don't know why this keeps happening now. Times a half. And that's going to give me 3/8. Yeah, 3/8. Okay, so now let me kind of scroll up here so this hopefully doesn't happen again. So looking at the diagrams, which one do you think it might be if you look at them? So it's actually going to be diagram number 1. And I already kind of gave you the answer. It was 3/8. So now my multiplication equation is going to be 2 times 3/8 is the 3/4. And that 3/4 is right there. Right? And then your division equation is what I set up for you in the beginning of this. So 3/4 divided by 2 makes the 3/8. Okay, so now I move to section 9. And we will skip the summary and all that and just kind of get practice dividing these. So amount in one group, you're on page 55. So it says, write a multiplication and a division equation and draw diagrams. So if I remember correctly, I'm trying to get to my notes, I just solved them. So it says, Jada bought 3.5 yards of fabric for $21. How much did each yard cost? Okay, so my division problem is going to be 21 divided by, now remember this 3.5. You multiply these 2 and add the top. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So the problem I'm going to deal with is 7/2. remember that the 21 needs to be over 1. And this becomes 21 over 1 times 2 over 7. Okay, and then 21 times 2 is 42 over 7. Sorry, that's a 2. It's just blocking me. And 42 divided by 7 is 6. Sorry. Okay, so now my multiplication equation is going to be the 3.5, this 3.5, times 6. And that's going to give me the 21. So under number 1, you should have that. All right, so now we do the kilograms of baking soda costs $2 for 4 over 9 kilograms. How much does 1 kilogram of baking soda cost? Okay, so we'll set up the division equation. It's 2 over 1 divided by 4 over 9. So now that's 2 over 1 times, remember you change the sign, and then you flip the second. So 9 times 2 is 18 over 4. And your answer would be 4.5 or 4.5, however you want to write it. That's a 4. All right, and then your multiplication equation would be the 4.5 times the 4/9 equals 2. Okay, and then for the third one, it says, Diego can fill 1 1/5 bottles of 3 liters of water. How many liters can one bottle fill? Okay, so remember that 1 1/5, we need to make a mixed number. So remember to multiply and then add. So 5 plus 1 is 6 over 5. Okay, so we'll have this 3 over 1 divided by the 6 over 5. And then we need to keep change flip. So 3 over 1 times 5 6. And you're going to get 15 6. And if you were to divide them, you would get 2.5. So your multiplication equation would be the 2.5 times the 6 over 5. And that's going to equal the 3. Okay, and then we are going to stop there. So go ahead and join the meet and start the practice.